Hi, welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. So, we're going to carry on building the little Escort, see how much further we can get tonight. And it's been quite enjoyable so far. So, let's get you in and we'll start on number 26, I think it is. And see where we get to this time. So, we're starting on number 26 and you need two C8s. You need a C4 for the left and a C3 for right, and two of these BA6 screws, 3B10s. So let's get these right way around, and it says you have the little tag facing in on them both, so they just slide together and pop a screw in end. And again, don't go crazy with these because they are like kind of rubberized plastic. So again, on that one you've got the little indentation so you know which way to line them up, and then we can drop a screw in and get that one done. It does say in instructions you have these little tags that you need to cut off, so that's got them done. Right, moving along to 27. So what we need to do is we need to get as little O-rings and push them down into as cups. And just make sure they go in nice and flat on the bottom. Then we're going to get his chassis, and it's telling us to put a little bit of grease on it, but again it's because of the bushings are normally fitted and we're not using bushings. We're fully bearinged up. So that's one. It'll never hurt if you put grease on some part that you don't really need it on because it's got bearings, but you just don't need to go mad with it. It does seal it a bit, keep a bit of dirt out. So we're also going to want two C18s, and I think you're probably going to end up with a few spares left. Certainly the shock mounts and some of these bits are duplicated. Right, so moving on to the suspension. So if that's going to be his right hand side, so it's telling us to grease in both these. So squeeze a bit of grease in. And then we're gonna have, let's see which way these are gonna face. So looks like that's that side and this is for this side. So I think what I'll probably do, that's not gonna move in that because it's gonna go move with it. So if we get that one on first, these have got to be the shortest arms that I've ever seen on an RC car, and you don't have to crimp these up crazily tight. Or she'll stop your suspension working. So that's got them in place, and it's not telling us to grease these screws that hold these bits on, and pretty much look the same no matter which way around you hold them. So on that we're going into that hole. These are definitely T-Rex arms. So we're going to get them lined up in the exact same place on the left side. So that looks like we've covered everything and used all the parts from that. So what we're going to need now, we're going to need 2 little brass inserts, 2 really weird shaped screws, guessing they're kingpins. Sorry, we need 4 of them, and 2 bearings we're going to swap out for proper bearings instead of plastic bushings. Well worth keeping hold of all them though, because they make fantastic spacers. Right, so we're now going to need 2 F1, an F12 and an F11. So we're going to need 2 of them. Then we need our steering knuckles. So it looks like that would be 12, yep. That one will be 11, and that faces down that way. So, first thing we're going to want is our little brass inserts, and it looks like these are going to sit that way round, and they're going to go into the hole furthest away. And just remember with these, don't want to over tighten them, because you've got really fine threads and they're only brass and plastic. Right, so that's got them both assembled. Then we're going to need to drop a bearing in. And again with these, if you're struggling to get the bearing in place, you can always drop it on the actual drive shaft itself and drop it in. Now again, it says use a little bit of grease on these, but you really don't need to if you've got the ball bearings in, but it can help to keep dirt out. Oil tends to turn into grinding paste because it mixes with dirt, and grease keeps the dirt on top of it. So once we've got them, you're going to have to get one of these, and we're going to position it over that, and then you're going to want a kingpin in the top and the bottom. So let's try and get these in. So, one functioning steering. Let's get the other built up quickly. Right, so that is our steering built. They feel quite sturdy. So, moving along, we're now going to want 2 more BD2. We want 2 more of them. We're going to want 2 drive shafts, and we're following again the one for the high position, so it sits the body further up. So you're going for the top ones on both sides of this. So top hole, top hole. So let's see what else we need. So it looks like it wants us to put a little bit of grease on the end of his dog bones. And then on our steering, it's telling us to put a little bit of grease in the bottom. So put it in the top hole of the bottom on both sides. But it doesn't say use it anywhere else. So now you've got to line your drive shaft up to go through, and then all the way in, and then we've got to get it all lined up. you're going for the top hole. I can certainly see how it would be very easy to get lost with Tamiya instructions when you've got multiple different vehicles all on the same chassis with different ride heights, different wheelbase. But as long as you take your time and read through it, you should get there in the end. So again, we're going to want a little bit of grease. And we've got to get it straight through the middle of his hub. And then get the hub to go in. See if we can line it up. And then you want your hinge pin through. And we should be able to tighten it up. And then you want that screw into the top position again. So that's what you want to end up with. And again, if you've got a bit of grease kicking about, put it on edit screws and it'll stop them going rusty for you. But you should have the suspension and the steering. Make sure your drive shafts are in. Now let's have a look what else we need. So we're going to need 2 springs. We are going to need 2 C15s. So let's grab them. 2 C7s. It's almost like we've done this before. 2 C6s. And 2 of the little C5s that you need to be a little bit careful getting these off because you could rip them quite easily. And likewise, when you're trimming them little rough bits off, it'll be easy to cut through them. So we get a C15. We get a C6 and you put it with the hole facing up. You then get a C7 with the skirt towards the bottom and you clip that round. Then put a C5 on, a spring on. I'm certainly going to be intrigued to see how it actually drives without damped suspension. Because it's certainly one of the parts that you could very easily upgrade, and they're not really crazy money. Put it in and twist and we're done. Right, moving on. 2 BC1, and we're going to need 2 of the BD2s. Then we're going to be back to using little spacers. So what spacers are we having? F14s on the top. So what are these F14s? So this time we're going for these little tiny red ones. and it's now telling us to attach our steering rods. Would have possibly been easier before my hands were covered in grease, but there you go. So it's the BD2s that go in the bottom. So BD2 in bottom and BC1, the long silver ones, in the top. And we're just going for that last remaining scroll on the front of the arm. I mean, credit to Tamiya, the way they reuse these various different chassis and body shells to make completely different RCs. Definitely a credit to the experience they've got building. They have been around an awful long time. So again, we'll drop the black one in the bottom. Then we're going to want the silver in the top. So we have suspension, even with no wheels. Right, we're now going to go for 2 C1s. These are going to be as body posts. So a C1, then we need 1 C2. And we should have another C1 kicking about. So by the looks of this, we've got a spare bumper. Sure, that'll come in handy. Then we need 6 of these, so 4, 5 and 6. Then we're going to screw one of these to each side of this, so you've got a little sort of square, and you're just screwing this onto the end of it. So that's one in place. That's the second one. Then, so it looks like this bumper is designed to fit with a smooth side to top. So just going to line it up like that, so the lines are on the bottom. I certainly think for this it's going to be easier getting the screws in place first. Alright, that's just 4 screws in, holding his bumper. Not too much slopping steering, surprised me that. I thought it'd be a lot worse. Right, so moving on, we're going to need 1 tiny grub screw, 1 pinion, 1 motor plate, 1 motor, and it does ask you to bend the cables in on the terminals. So we're going to need A8, which is the pinion spacer. We're going to need our little Allen key. So get the cardboard motor plate in position. Then you want the tiny grub screw, and you really need to be careful tightening these up because these will shear off really easily. And you want to find your flat on the motor shaft, So you can slide the pinion down, just keep twisting it and you'll feel it sort of bite onto the flat on the shaft, but you should still have movement in it. And then you place that over the top, move your pinion all the way to the end, and then nip it up, and then you end up with your pinion spaced properly. So you literally just pull it all the way to the end of that. Right, so once we've got that done, we are then going to need, let's have a look, so 2 of the long screws, 1 of them, we're going to need a little motor plate, and then we need the A6 little motor plate cover, that goes on last of all. So let's have a look where we're working now. So if you line it up, then you want to drop one of the screws through the motor plate, and if you put that through, you can just see to line it up, so you can start tightening it up. And you just have to find the second one up motor. That should be it. Right, then we just need to set the meshing on the actual motor itself. So if you look through the little hole, you can actually see the meshing. So if you just turn your drive shaft slightly, you can see how good your mesh is. You don't want it really tight, and then you can just nip your motor screws up, and once we've done that, we've got this little piece that goes on back to cover the inspection hole. Right, so now we've got his motor in place, we can move along with some more electronics. So this is where you'd be fitting your receiver and ESC. We've got a ESC and receiver all in one, and I think for this one, just because it's going to make it easier for me to get to the switch as well, I think I'm going to go mount it there, because it should definitely be outweigh at body, and the standard holes aren't quite big enough. It'd be quite a stretch for the power wires to go from that one, and it's definitely not going to fit in that one. Let's see if Tamiya's double-sided tape's got any better over ears, because in past you've pretty much stuck it on and it fell off. This don't feel bad. So I'm going to go for that position. Then we're going to want as yellow wire into yellow, blue into green, just to start with. Not sure if that's where it's going to stay or if we need to reverse anything, but not a great deal to plug in. We've got as channel 1, which is going to be a servo, and that's about all we need. So let's have a look where it's advising us to put as tie wraps. So it's pretty much saying you bring the motor wires round and you tie wrap them through there, so that we can do. And looks like that's to keep it well out of the way of the suspension. And then it basically just says the servo wire and your power wire and everything just fasten together. So let's see if we can tidy all this up. Mainly you want to keep your wires out of the prop shaft, drive shaft, whatever you want to call it. So that should keep us plugged roughly around that battery where we need it. We've got a switch that's in solid, and we've got us wires nice and neat coming down middle, so they're not rubbing on the suspension anywhere. It's almost looking like a little RC. Now the wheels I've already done, so we've got them ready to put on, covered in glue, because I hate that stuff. The only way I've found of doing these is just squeeze the tyre, pour a bit of glue in, and then hold it so it stays on. So what we're going to need now is we're going to need that grub screw not to be stuck in the wheel nut. Then it says we should be left with 4 bearings, which we've got. Let's put them to one side. Right, it's telling us again to grease the bearings, but as I say, these are ball bearings, so they don't need greasing. So you want one on each one of the drive shafts, and these just press in. So that bit's nice and easy. Then we need our wheel hexes, and they're all A5s, so these will also be a nice easy upgrade to aluminium. Then we should have 4 of our drive pins. So we've got 4 drive pins, and what I find with these is if these you stick a little bit of grease on them, it kind of helps to hold them in. So we want a drive pin. Make sure you get it central, then drop your wheel hex on it and you'll feel it click. So I'm going to get one wheel on, and tighten his wheel nut up. Then we're going to move to one of the rear. Stick a bit of grease around that. So hopefully it don't fall straight through when I try and put it on. Now what I could do is have a look in the instructions for body shell, and that would tell me which way around my wheel patterns should go. But I like the look of them that way, so that's where they're going to live. At least until I look in the instructions and realise the wrong way around, and then I'll swap them. These do look good size wheels for Mini T. They're not far off. 10mm adapters on a Mini T and some monster truck size wheels, I think. Definitely got to be something we've got to experiment with now I've seen it. So don't massively over tighten your wheel hexes. So that's got all them in. What else do we have? Does actually feel quite smooth. Really smooth. Quite impressed. So, moving on, we need 2 body clips. We need the clips for either end, so they are B15s. So let's have a look, see where they're hiding. So it looks like there is plenty of room for battery. Definitely not going to struggle. So I think if I try the Gens Ace and they're as big, then you can work out where you want to put your battery foam to stop it rattling around, but you can do that at any point. So it looks like these just clip under. And then you can put your body pins in. So that's pretty much how it sits. There's a lot of play in that for the battery, so we're definitely going to have to look into getting rid of some of that play, but we should have a working RC. So let's have a look. First off, gonna have to reverse steering. Then we need to move a sub trim, I think, to get that one all lined up. No, went wrong way. That definitely looks straighter. Then we're going to have to do as endpoints. So if we just lift the front up, so that should be right for that way. So we have steering. Do we have throttle? We do, yeah. That is one really smooth ESC. So, we have a driving chassis or a rolling chassis. See how controllable it is. That's quite good. That's got some seriously good modulation on that ESC, but it is kind of aimed at crawlers. Lastly, we did actually get the shims in the correct order. There's a tiny little bit right at the back here that tells you about fitting a ball diff. It also tells you about fitting the optional bearing kit for the prop shaft. So the way I built the prop shaft was actually right. You would have put that bit with the prop shaft, but guess Tamiya knows best. So all that's left to do now is build up the body and get the stickers on it, and then we're good to go. Now the foam really going to depend on what battery you've got. If you've got multiple different ones like me, I'd try a few different ones in it to make sure it fits. But let's wrap this one up. So there we have it. We've got the Tamiya Z battery, FlySky hobby wing receiver and ESC, and yeah, it is a official FlySky and hobby wing. So we've got pretty good steering really from that Hexes servo. Never going to be the fastest, but it'll certainly do for a little Tamiya like this. And really, really nice modulation from that speed controller. It really does work well with this this controller. Does look like we've got everything right. Just got a few more bits, quite a lot more bits really, because there's a lot to do on the on this body shell. It comes with a whole kit for mounting LEDs. We've got the lights that we've got to put on. You do get a whole load of spare parts if you like, so I guess these are for a shorter wheelbase chassis. You've got a few bits left on here, so different, not sure if they're different width for different batteries. Another bumper, and so far we've got a few of these red bits left. So we've got a bunch of little sort of shim spacers if you like, a few more on there, and a switch cover, and then some more little ones on that, and spare servo horns for different servos, and some more C parts. So there's one or two little bits of spares or extras. If you're wondering what that is, that's what happens when you get glue on your tyre. It does pick off, it sort of goes dry and just flakes off when you use it. But yeah, quite happy with how this has come out. Not sure if you're meant to fasten them down on there on the other side of it, because you do get three tie wraps. So I'm not entirely sure if that's where the third one's meant to go. Looks like it makes sense. I'm not sure if I missed that in instructions or if it's just not in it for this one. But it does look like that would be a sensible place for the extra tie wrap to go. Certainly where mine's going to live. That's definitely going to keep all those wires that way. But thanks again for watching Wtf Rc Cars. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe, share to friends and family, don't forget to hit the notification bell to see when we finally finish it with all its glory, all its body shell, and bearing in mind this is a full lighting controller as well as a speed control and receiver. So bet you can guess what we've got planned for the body shell. But catch you guys again in the next one.